So we're going to take our time a little bit here. Chuck and I, we're going to rehearse while you guys solve this puzzle. Right, Chuck? I don't know.
Check. That's working out. That's Yoda in my backpack. I was Luke Skywalker on Dagobah. My wife was LeBron James back in the Heat days, and I had a little Sith Lord, 2 Sith Lords.
And that's me. And I love the hats at Disney World. So the big question, which year?
Yesterday. You look the same.
Winner,
Good
winner.
answer, good answer. You're going to get brownie points.
New. That's the fighting weight I need to get into for this February team event. I am thinking. I think it's 2010, 2011. Yep.
Great, one down. What about me? Close. 1998. Very close. Bingo. Great job. So we want to take you guys to Disney Journey. Let me play this.
So Joyce said that she was talking about the video and it gives her the feels. It always gives me the feels when I really sit down, listen to the music, and check it out. So speak up if you've got your mask on so we can hear you. What kind of feels do you get when you see that video? What stands out? What are some of the things? Excitement? Feeling like a kid? Adventure. Very welcoming. What do you think about the beginning when the different staff is doing their thing? Yeah, the staff looks pretty happy in that video. Yeah. Pride. A lot of different activities and different roles. There's staff fixing the bed, pizza makers getting the pizza, gymnasts, acrobatics. There's all kinds of different characters and shows that are called cast members at Disney. So our talk today, we're going to be talking about if Disney ran RI. One of the things that they're especially great at is guestology. So they study what guests that come to their parks are going to feel, what they want, what they need, what are their expectations when they come there. It's almost like trauma-informed care in a way of saying, well, what are their expectations? And then what they do is they study what are the ways and the mechanisms we need to put in place to be able to create that experience and not just meet expectations, but actually go over them, which that's what they call kind of creating Disney magic. And I've been the recipient of being able to enjoy going so many times with my family. And it's really special. And it creates an experience, and their mission statement totally is about creating a family experience that's fun. Now you say, in a hospital, how in the world can that translate? We're not creating an experience for fun. Well, we're not. So we're gonna talk to you today about a different kind of experience that we need to create and we need to continue to focus that I think RI has always done. And that's why it's so special to me to make these comparisons. And that is creating a caring experience for people on their worst day. And creating an experience where when people come in, they consistently, from all different levels of staff, that we come together, can give that message, can give that feeling. And it's not easy to do. It's simple. You should be cared for when you're in crisis, but it is so not easy to do, as evidenced by everyone and the things, experiences that we see done many places across the country and across the world. So this is Maya Angelou saying, one key point I want to discuss about it is, and we've had multiple people use that, but it's this whole thing, and Disney talks about it in their training for hospital staff, is that it's not necessarily the individual services that you get. Did you get your initial assessment done? Did you get your med reconciliation done? And those things are important. We have to do them for safety reasons and doing the right things and making the correct clinical decisions. But however, what will happen and what will make the difference of that person's experience and whether they're going to be brand loyal to our place and our brand and what we do is how you make them feel. And that's what they'll remember about the experience. And so we're going to be talking today, if Disney ran RI, what would be the things that they would teach us to do to make this be able to happen on a grand scale? We're growing like crazy. And every time we open a new facility, it puts strains and thinking about how do we get the same level of training and expertise. I'm going to New Mexico and helping with Karina and working on that. It's a load every time we do this new and different. How do we get this experience to be able to do it? And so hopefully we're going to try to crystallize in a very short, easy to understand way, things that we're planning to do and things we've already been doing, but how to continue to work on doing it better and better to be able to achieve this. So Fred Lee wrote this book, 9.5 Things Your Hospital Would Do if they were running your facility. And we're not going to go through all these. It's too much time for our short time today. But however, we're going to try to crystallize that down. I'd love for everyone to read the book because it's got just such good nuggets of thinking about how we do what we do and how it translates to the exact same mechanisms of what Disney does to get that consistent experience of family fun. We're going to break it down into 3 categories.
So if Disney ran RI, there are 3 buckets we would focus on: talent acquisition, retention, and continuous improvement. So let me start with talent acquisition. Anybody experiencing staffing issues in their region? Only one person. I like that. 2, maybe 3. Rest, all of us, we are pretty good, huh? Right. Well, healthcare industry, as Chuck was talking about Disney and references in the book, who is our competitor? Let's ask that question. We are in healthcare, of course, behavioral health, but who is our competitor? So parallel drawn, think about it. For Disney, who would be the competitor? Other theme parks? What are your thoughts? Anybody? SeaWorld, Universe. How about Marriott? Do you think that would be a competitor of Disney? Yes. Yes. Amazon. Is it a competitor? Think about it. We are consumers. So now shifting into healthcare, who are our competitors? Everyone, thank you, everyone. So who's competing for the resources, for talent? Big hospitals, tech companies, except BHL. Everyone else is competing for the same resource. So that brings us to the point of talent acquisition. It's a journey. When we tap into the resources outside, the limited resources. Yesterday, Chris talked about human capital. In business, when we hear the word capital, right, Brian, what comes to mind? Dollars. Usually dollars. But 85% of human capital is what? People, right? They run our businesses, they run our vision, they run our mission, all of that. So how can we go after this limited talent pool and make it marketable for them in order for them to join us? So I want to give an applaud to each one of you. We got $1 million lottery having each one of you in the room, right? But we may not get lucky every time. So those are the questions we ought to think about. Now, we got this talent in the house, and we're going to talk about the journey of this whole talent acquisition. In the book, the author makes a reference to moments of truth. It's not the whole journey that matters, but it matters these small interactions. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So what happens when we get the talent through the door? If we don't treat them well, what would happen? Leave. And I remember Paul's analogy during one of our staffing calls. He was like, feels like we are holding a pot and it has holes in it. We are pouring it okay, but we are not able to retain water because it's flowing out the door faster, right? So that's about retention. And continuous improvement is about business and the three parameters that Dr. Manor talked about yesterday that makes an organization excellent as opposed to adequate. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's dive in. Talent acquisition. So we need to increase our talent pool. What is outside? Chuck, what stories comes to your mind when you hear the word talent pool? Because Disney was experiencing similar challenges.
Well, Ruchi, one key thing it says in the book, if Disney was hiring your medical staff, there'd be a lot of staff they wouldn't hire. They'd set expectations about what this job is going to be like, and enough people would be in the right category. And in that interview process, they would be asking the right questions, like Chris talked about in the standout, looking for people's strengths to see if they match up with what the expectation of the job is. So if Disney was hiring nursing staff for us, they're only going to be hiring cheerful, happy nurses who show an unbelievable ability to care and have that compassion every day. And they're going to set that tone when they're going out. And then the second piece to that is they're going to have an expectation that we're Disney, we're going to go out and get these people. And so those are the two things about the talent pool that are from the book that matter.
That's right. Did you hear Chuck? He talked about personality first, people first, then the traits or the skill set later. Can we do the reverse? Right? Can we change people, their personalities? Who think in the smart people? Anybody? Come on. Oh, Dr. Mike, please, thank you.
Don't tell Judy that. That's a challenge and she will throw down.
So what happens? We get into the management, we get into the roles, and what we try to do, we try to change people. And guess what? We cannot. Right? We can teach the skills, but not the personality traits. So what Dr. Chuck was talking about, look for people that are happy, joy to work with. The word joy comes to mind, right? And they are caring and compassionate. So that brings me to next point, which is internal communication. So do you think hiring a resource is one person's job? How many think? No? Maybe HR department's job? No? I was thinking someone would say yes. Okay. Whose job is this then? Thank you. Thank you. everyone's job. So what happens when we have silos within an organization? Right? What happens? Communication goes down. Confusion goes up. That's right. That's right. What else happens?
Turf battles.
Turf battles, right? So all these problem areas we know of, having to have the understanding of internal communication. Chuck, share a story that comes to your mind.
So a story about siloing that happened within a company that Fred was helping consult. And basically the marketing department, trying to be very helpful, had created a 2-page form that they felt would make it really easy for everyone to give feedback about what their needs were for marketing. And all of a sudden the CEO is getting requests from, we'd like to use these outside marketing departments instead of having to use our own team, because it became so laborious and so difficult due to siloing and challenges that it wasn't customer friendly. And so actually that marketing department was then competing against other external things that would be easier to use per their experience with it. So
excellent. So we created competition amongst ourselves and kind of helping other competitors get our money. Very smart business, huh? Well, but on the contrary, I think we have been leading War Room, the tag goes War Room, but it was a fun room. We were hiring people, brainstorming. So it has been a successful journey there. Just to underscore, when we work together, we can make impossible happen, right? So the third point is enhancing brand reputation. Brand, we went through this exercise that Joy led, and it was all about branding. David talked about branding. What does brand mean to you all? Promise. So when you see a logo, when you hear the company's name, the feelings or the impression that comes to your mind, right? Maybe a passion, maybe how they are doing. So Disney has a brand in the community. What do they talk about, Chuck? I mean, in the book, how to have this brand reputation out and about?
of course, I would focus on food. So there's a story about food and a food manager who was able to get empowered by her CEO by showing cost-benefit analysis of preparing food for people in the hospital and not just having meals that were automatically delivered to the rooms, but creating 24/7 room service. And then on top of that, figured out budgeting wise and how to make it work to create food service for the actual employees of the hospital as well, around the clock at order when you needed it, and make it work logistically. The brand of what happened in that area for that hospital, in terms of like if you had like Glassdoor ratings or things like that to talk about what it was like to work at that place, was off the charts in terms of what it did to affect talent acquisition for that hospital.
Excellent. So in that story, Chuck, you were underscoring, it wasn't something they were doing externally. It was some caring act that they recognized, they fixed, and just the word of mouth created that channel for the brand reputation. That's a very neat way of establishing ourselves in communities. So now let's go back to the fourth one, which is community relations. So do we do business in a silo in any region that we are present? We are in a community, we are serving people, we are there for a purpose. And that's the reason the community relationships are the key components. So who are our community stakeholders that we work with? Hospitals, law enforcement, families. Say that again?
Corrections.
Corrections, yeah. Yep, exactly. City officials, county people, state people. This is the whole community that we deal with. And the relationships are the key piece, right? I loved your presentation about the Exodus recovery. I felt like your whole company's theme was relationship building, that community presence. So it talks about that, right? That community, we are there, we want to establish our brand reputation, we are being there, we are creating this pipeline for the community, colleges, universities to feed our workforce. They are yearning to join us like Disney. It's not like we are going and running and chasing after them. They are coming to us. They are wanting to help with our mission. And that's where the talent acquisition is about. What story comes to mind, Chuck?
So this is a story about actually in Disney and the effects of Disney World's community relationships and how it affected other entities. And Fred had gotten a speeding ticket in Orlando. And after he'd gotten home, he had this thing come in from the sheriff's department, and it was a customer satisfaction survey for getting a speeding ticket, asking how the officer treated him, how was his experience, and that even though it's difficult getting a ticket. So what this illustrates is when you get engaged into a community and you have this kind of brand and you do what you're supposed to do the way you do, you have impacts all over the whole community in terms of, because I don't know of any other department where that's something that's going on, but that's the actual effect that it had in Orlando and how it raised the bar for everyone.
That's right. So one of my mentors used to say, be a tide, wherever you go, make sure all the ships are rising. Right? So that's what Disney did. And this effect all along on everyone. They touched everyone's life and changed their way of thinking in terms of this customer service aspect. And that's what makes talent acquisition work. So now let's switch gears. So let's say we did all of that. We're doing all of that. We're going to do better in all of that. So how can we make talent retention be our focus? So in the book, they talk about these moments of truth. So it's the journey, employee journey. Many of you have been with RI for many years. Some of are new. So it's not the whole year. It's not those 21 years. Lisa have had many of these moments of truth, but these small interactions make an impression about the company, and it connects people together. And those are the touch points, if you will. We want to capture it so that to make that lasting impression that they have chosen, they have made the right decision joining RI. So first touch point in any talent acquisition or person who's hiring is NEO, which is new employee orientation, training, mentorship and support that helps them throughout the journey. And we'll touch on this psychological safety aspect, human aspect of why we speak up for help and why we don't sometimes. So let's dive into our new employee orientation. So Chuck talked about, well, when you're the hiring manager, you are selling the other person, like why we are special, but you have to feel, it's at the feeling level that you need to be able to articulate to the other person that that person will get sold on our values and be able to join us in our workforce. That's the RI special piece, and we are working towards expanding that exuberance, I will say. Kevin talks about this passion that RI has, and how can we expand on it? And above all, what makes us special is the RI way and the 4 keys.
And just to give a teaser about these NEO changes, I've been getting to see pieces of these videos that we're making that it will be useful for welcoming and helping teach people about our DEILC, PLC, the Medical Leadership Council, and introducing the ROA and the 4 keys. And I think they're going to be, you know what Justin does with that kind of stuff, but our staff and the folks and what they're sharing and saying is just, it's going to be amazing, I think, in the start of our journey for our NEOs going forward. One new thing that I want to, we've talked about the RI way and talked about the 4 keys, and we've always had it in the button form. The book talks about a specific element to think about it a different way. And I want everybody to understand this because it's really important that we push this forward and start arming and empowering our staff to know how to use these tools in the way that Disney does with their 4 keys. It's not a circle, it's not pillars, it's a rung of like a ladder or like stair steps. And so there's a ranking that you have in your head. All 4 are ultra important, but each individual interaction you have with a guest, you need to use these 4 in an order. So safety is always first, and it is at Disney as well. And so obviously, we've got lots of things that we do to help maintain that. However, the guest doesn't usually see safety as an issue unless something bad happens. So they're going to be faced most with, at Disney, it's going to be courtesy next. So for ours, 2 and 3 are almost exactly side by side, but I want to focus on engagement because of this. Even if in that moment you're not doing a peer-powered practice, you need to be engaged and connected. Engagement is what is that measurement. We're going to be measuring, do you feel cared for by the staff? And so that's an important, we've got to build that in so that our staff is always thinking about safety first, and then if it's not dangerous, how am I engaging? And then separate from how I'm engaging, am I engaging using peer-powered practices? That's huge, and that's our next phase is do we come to work, get into character, and get going with these peer power practices. And that's not just for our peer staff. That is for us, Dr. Gadd, as physicians. It's for our nurse practitioners, our clinicians, our nurses, and being able to do that on a day-by-day, in-the-moment pace consistently like Disney does is the goal of using these keys so our staff can run through that and be empowered to use those. And then finally, performance. Ultra important. It is last, but it's ultra important. You have to have efficiencies and be able to manage things and be able to measure and manage things with quality improvement measures and things of that nature to be successful in carrying out those other 3. But you never want, for example, being collaborative in a peer power practice, unless it's dangerous. If somebody's going to get us a little bit out of process and a guest needs to do something to feel some comfort, we need to make that happen if we can, unless it's dangerous, over efficiency in that moment. And we'll always have tools to help work on that, and it is important, but it's teaching this and making this a part of our culture of how we do everything. And it's what drives that final caring experience.
Exactly, Dr. Chuck. So the key point here is safety is that number 1. If that's missing, we'll have negative brand reputation. It doesn't need to be the emphasis or the focal point, but that is the key. We need to feel safe where we are. And I know we've been working on getting this data to all the sites, gathering that information. In addition to psychological safety, and psychological safety comes in, I can raise my hand when I need help. I can provide my feedback, feed forward maybe, suggesting I'm not afraid of any punitive action, right? So that is the safe environment that we create, each one of us leaders in this room, so we get to the crux of the issue and get to address the underlying currents in order for us to have the optimal performance as an organization and connecting with people. So since we talk about people being the focal point, how many of us have been into the situations where we go, I know it, don't tell me, I know it? No, never. Good answer, Jody. Well, many times, right? We go, I know this, don't tell me what to do. My kids say all the time, don't tell me what to do. But there is a chasm, not a gap, in knowing something and doing. How do we bridge that gap? And that's our responsibility. So our training goals are to bridge that gap. People know a lot, but doing things in a different way, it requires a shift in mindset. And that's what we need, where we need to invest in. So there are, I call these 3 buckets of training. Systems training is those hard skills that we all need. How to read in Excel, how to read the numbers, how to do the budgeting, how to kind of log into the system to do our these hard skills that we all can get trained on. That's the one bucket. The leadership training is about the soft skills. We don't work alone. We work with each other. We have different personalities. We learned yesterday. Some of us are teachers, some of us are advisors and creators. So we have a different rhythm amongst ourselves. So how do we work with each other so that our engagement is most optimal? So these soft skills, I know we have used Middle Management Academy. Some of us have used, but we are thinking about kind of expanding it, enhancing it to provide those soft skills, conflict management, working with different personalities, communication styles, all of those soft skills. And the third and the most crucial part is when I'm coming in from a different world to RI world, right? There are many nuances, cultural nuances. How do I get support? Who do I go to in a safe environment and ask questions? Hey, why do we do this way? I mean, I know I can always pick up phone and call Chuck. Why are we doing this way, Chuck? And he'll go, let me explain it to you. But it's more than that, right? So let's expand on it a little bit.
So if Disney ran RI, just like they would do in their new hire orientation is a very short period of time. But then the majority of the systems training, the soft skills training, those things that happen, they're done on a day-by-day basis by the people that are the floor managers. So it is that mentoring, the shadowing, the consistent daily approach to high quality and continuous improvement as a team on the floor and on the unit. And so, we see this when we open new sites and people are working to figure out how to make that happen. Or when a leader, because our bench strength, we're growing, someone leaves one site and goes to another site, and all of a sudden there's a little bit of a vacuum about being ready to that. So we have introduced, and I'm just gonna tee this up for you, Dr. Mike, and when you and Matthew's talk is gonna go into much more detail about this matrix model of leadership, but it's basically designed to offer clinical expertise in different buckets on the vertical level to help support our staff members daily on the floor, with horizontal leadership on focus on operations. And so we'll have both this clinical expertise angle and support and leadership along with an operational support that has data-driven things tied into it, as well as mechanisms like daily huddles and check-ins to make sure we're in the right place for this. And so one of the things that Disney ran, our hospital or ran RI, would be this mode of getting that daily on the floor training and unity of that's how you learn these complex things of how we do what we do in an excellent way.
Right. So what I love about this structure, people will get the support based on their roles and the challenges that they will be experiencing. So they'll have this sounding board mentor who've been in their place before, and they'll be able to they'll be able to connect with them from a place of experience. So, and again, more to come. So let's dive into the continuous improvement. If necessity is the mother of invention, thank you, the dissatisfaction must be the father of improvement. Yeah, I didn't make it up. It was in the book. The author was very smart. But it makes sense, isn't it? So can we say, all right, I hired people, we are retaining it, my job is done. Who can say my job is done? Right? Nobody? Okay. Well, the market is shifting, the whole world is shifting, we are experiencing new things. And again, going back to what Dr. Manners said, 3 things: fanatic discipline, empirical creativity, and productive paranoia. So I'm gonna hone on the second piece, which is the empirical creativity. What it means by that is we are going to challenge the status quo. The study is not okay with us, and we do it through observation, we do it through experimentation. So we are talking about many threes, right? So in real estate we have threes: location,
Location.
location, location, they say it. In business, in people world, as Dr. Manor was talking about, corporations don't make money, businesses do. And for business, we need people. And people, in order for us to retain them, we need to focus on experience, 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 right? So those are the three words. And another three is, how do we do it? How do we create that experience? People, systems, and processes. So let's take a deeper dive. We talked about training, investing in people, right? These are our in-house resources. We know the culture, we know our business, and how can we enhance their skill set through systems training or leadership training or other means. Cross-department collaboration, again, bringing down these silos because that causes frustration and for people to not be able to provide their best. So John Franklin Sierra talked about systems, right? Systems thinking, systems engineering. So when we talk about LA, we go, their system works this way. And I was talking to Joy about Louisiana, and I was blown away by their ecosystem. And I was like, I don't know how they do their business, but okay, I'm learning, right? So no one place or one either geography presence or the organization, they have these systems, and we need to continue to focus on how to make it better. So what it translates for RI, what catalog of tools, patterns, guidelines, shared vocabulary that makes our RI system. It could be many technological platforms. It could be, new shiny tools that we buy, but that's just a part of the system. It's not the whole RI system. And we need to take into account how that system plays a bigger role in the ecosystem where we are present. The next one is our processes. So there was a phrase again used yesterday. It was preserving the core and stimulating the growth, right? Dr. Manor used it. And for me, it's like, what is our core, our standard processes, the workflows, either our departmental, interdepartmental, that makes us who we are, and how can we be agile and nimble to be able to pivot as we go into new territories. Again, there's going to be many, competition is going to be high. So how can we be that nimble and agile in addition to being grounded in our core? Striking that balance defines the process. And that brings us to identifying the problems, defining them right, measuring and analyzing it, and improving and controlling. So this is this continuous improvement cycle that we want to be in. We can never say, I have arrived, I have achieved. And as long as we are learning from our experiences and improving, we are on a right path. So I'll say that again. I love this quote. If necessity is the mother of invention, the dissatisfaction must be the father of improvement. And continuous improvement is going to give us that extra edge, which other organizations may not have. And with that, it gives us the heart and the I. I is what the data is, and heart, joy of working together, as well as, making this churn in a positive direction. I loved playing bowling yesterday, although I sucked big time, but it drove great joy for me. So thank you.
So as we move forward, we've been talking about how can we measure it, and you don't have to measure measure everything, but it is important to measure as many things as we can. And so one of the things that we've been doing this for multiple years, but continuing to make such progress in this constant cycle of continuous improvement, is having the infrastructure and ability to start to be even better at measuring what we do. So when you look at RI Way and the 4 keys, what has ready to unleash this year in 2022 is a scorecard that really helps us measure at each site as well as the overall company from a bird's eye view how well we're doing in our 4 keys. So coming to the near future, we'll have 4 scores. We're going to talk about the safety score in Dr. Mike's talk just coming up, so I'm going to go through, we'll skip to that and save that for the next talk. A peer-powered score. We have a model pilot score that we've done through Lisa's work and helping organize and develop this tool for organizational self-assessment of how peer-powered we are, that we are going to be able to use not just to measure how peer-powered we are each site, but use it as a continuous improvement model within this triangle. I call it Ruchi's triangle. And then engagement. Mitch actually solved the key today of a workflow issue that's opening up that we'll be able to start in January, collecting engagement scores per shift so that our guests can say, this is how I feel, do I feel cared for by the staff. It's going to be amazing in terms of research for this impact of caring in terms of how we do, but it's going to be really powerful for our team to be able to see how well we're doing this goal of what we want to do of achieving the ROA, what do guests perceive of us, and using that and doing it in an efficient way through Mitch's help with that. And thanks so much. That was great news to hear today. That's going to make it very efficient and not cumbersome to have our staff add that on to something that we collect and do. And then finally, performance. Our bird's eye view, we do tons of measurements on different levels of performance, but our big focus for each site is to measure our access, how well are we serving our community and saying yes, as well as margin, because I'm going to go and do it, Brian. The long arms of margin, you got to have it to support the mission.
So, Dr. Chuck, let's go back, if you would, just for a second. Let's go ahead and start prototyping out and putting on our slide. There's an aggregate score that comes out of this. And that aggregate score is not the truth. Where's John Franklin? It's not correct.
It's the wrong model.
Might be useful,
but we can use it.
And it gives us one more element. But this is a balanced scorecard which rolls up. And the goal is not to see who can have the best engagement to the detriment of others. It's about where do we find that equilibrium between it. But let's go ahead and have you started to frame out what that algorithm looks like?
We have, yeah. But that's going to be a cool step to start actually everybody getting their score and hearing how that goes. So he hit that thing. So in summary, this is a quote from Walt Disney that basically talks about this whole essence of what we're saying, which is creating a brand and an experience that's consistent, that lets people know, hey, we're creating this park system that when you come, your family's going to have fun. That's our mission. You're going to know it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to come back and you're going to bring other people. And they're very successful at doing that. And so what we're talking about today is just continually, RI Way is a special thing. It is what differentiates us from anything else out there. And we now are putting in the pieces of the infrastructure as we grow and are filling this market to be able to execute it and consistently execute it in all the different states we're in with all the different roles that we have, and using those 4 keys. My call to action to everyone, whether you're in a support department or whether you're an executive leader or whether you're in the peer leadership council or the DILC, is give voice and value, understand these principles, and as a site leader or as some type of leader that role is going to be so important towards executing this and working on a daily balance. But the reason we do it is, like we talked about a lot in the past 2 days, is it's what finalizes and creates that experience of caring for people in need. And that's why we do what we do. And that's the key that stands truer to anything else, at least, and why I love working here. And I think so many of us. And so this is key things to help us achieve that and move forward in how we care for others.
Exactly. So in addition to staff experience, employee experience, wherever we are in that hierarchy, yes, we'll have the matrix, we'll have all these, but it cannot be done without each one of your help. So with that, thank you for your time and attention. And any questions, we'd love to have it. Questions? Yes.
In my impression that Disney is ubiquitous. That's what helps them sort of rise into people's minds. And a weird sort of more like complete acceptance in some ways. How would we stand with our complete acceptance in the way that you're and help people that way? That sounds really good.
It does. So we have this philosophy, Dr. Chuck can speak more, is no wrong door. So we do accept all wherever they are in the journey. It's more this acceptance culture. How can we embody that amongst our staff members' internal resources as well? But I'll have Dr. Chuck speak more.
That in essence is the balance and the tension, Benjamin, on the fusion model, which is being able to carry out this ability to say no, to say yes and have no wrong door, and at the same time it be a place you would want to be or you'd want your loved one to be. And boy, you talk about that as a simple, making sense kind of thing, but not easy, Dr. Manners. That is not easy to do. It is a constant battle. We all experience that every day. How do we keep someone safe? Medically, with their behaviors, with the things that they have going on. How do we have our staff feel safe in doing that and feel comfortable? And at the same time, have our staff engaged and caring and being collaborative and person-centered when they're working with people and do it efficiently. So you've got all these things in and how to do it.
So you're tying this to talent acquisition. How often have we had someone come through our services and say, I want to come back, and our staff say, you're welcome to come back, and they say, no, I want to be, I want to be an employee, I want to join this program. So all of this leads into that very.
That's right, David. Exactly. That's a fine point and connection that you made. And we welcome, like, I think Lisa can speak more, the peers that this peer-powered, and we are the pioneer in this space, and we have many people working amongst ourselves, helping, giving back that care that they received from us.
And I'm so excited about the matrix model, but one of the things I'm most excited about as a member of the PLC is the amount of leadership it gives at each site that has a peer manager, the amount of voice that that gives for cross-training for all of our staff, and voice on a daily basis of are we using peer-powered practices, and participation in quality improvement projects at each site. I don't know of anybody that has that going on in that level, and so I'm really excited about it. Plus just the opportunities of that offers for our staff to have room, no matter what your lane is. There's much more opportunities of leadership and growth.
Other questions? Well, thank you again. We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all.